It's been 8 months since I've talked about comic books on my YouTube channel. Now I want to do it again. If I had to give you a reason as to why I haven't been doing it, I'd just tell you, I've been having some issues. Hello everybody, it's me, Samuel K. This is my show, Samuel K. Has Issues, where I talk about the issues of the comic books that I read. Here's a list of this week's issues here on the screen. I'm not going to put a list of all of the comics that I read over the last 8 months up, because that would be way too long. I really only read Marvel comics if this is your first one watching. I'll read about anything, though, if you tell me in the comments or whatever to check something out. Yeah, let's not waste any more time. It's been 8 fucking months. Let's talk about some comic books. First up, this week, Amazing Spider-Man 19.HU by Nick Spencer. Art by Chris Bacalo, Wayne Foucher, Livesay, Jaime Mendoza, Victor Olabaza, Tim Townsend, Al Vey, and Eric Arciniega. Cover by Greg Land and Frankie Darmada. Boy, oh boy, that's a whole lot of people! So first off, just kind of the backstory here is that Kraven the Hunter has kidnapped all of the animal-based supervillains that run around in New York. And I guess the world, too. You're talking Vulture, Scorpion, Black Cat, even weird ones like the Gibbon, which I'd never heard of, and several others. He's trapped them all in Central Park under this giant force field. And these rich idiots are paying, like, top dollar to come in and hunt them. But they're using these, like, kill bots they're controlling remotely that all look like Kraven the Hunter. To come out and hunt, like, the deadliest prey, which is human supervillains and Spider-Man in Central Park. The funny thing about this is they've made this, like, super convoluted numbering system. I mean, it's not that bad, but, like, okay, so on the off weeks where you don't have a new Amazing Spider-Man, there's, like, 19.HU, which focuses on one of the characters being hunted. Which is just kind of funny that they didn't just say, like, okay, here's issue 19, here's issue 20, and we'll alternate. But no, they decided to have, like, okay, let's go back. They've got not only, like, the number, like, 19.HU, the Marvel Legacy number isn't on here, which is another whole fucked up numbering system. It's like Marvel just doesn't understand that you can just say, like, okay, this one's Spider-Man 612, who gives a shit? But anyway, that's funny. The art in this comic book, though, is done by Chris Bacalo, who does some really fantastic artwork. He's a veteran of, like, Sandman comics, and he's got this really, like, vibrant, cartoony style that I really like. I really like the way that he's portrayed the Lizard in these comics, in this issue, just because the Lizard is this, like, big, hunched-over monster in this issue, instead of, like, a weird alligator man like a lot of other artists draw him. And that's the kind of thing you get when you get somebody like Chris Bacalo working on your book. He's also got this, like, super cartoony style where these people have, like, these, like, face wrinkles and big knobbly noses. And it really reminds me of, like, Rankin Bass, especially their 2D animated stuff, like The Last Unicorn and the Hobbit movie. Really love this guy's artwork, and this was a really good issue. The Lizard is a pretty interesting character now. He's got a chip in his brain that inhibits him from acting in violence. And so he has infiltrated the war zone in Central Park where they're being hunted to save his son, but he can't fight anybody because of this chip in his head. He can only defend himself. Which is a pretty interesting idea. And that's going to be explored next week in Amazing Spider-Man, either 19 or 20, but this one doesn't have the .HU. Like, see, this is where this shit gets confusing. Next up, Avengers No Road Home, number 10, by Mark Waid, Jim Zub, and Al Ewing. Art by Sean Izaakse, Marcio Menyes, and Eric Arciniega. Cover by Yasmin Putri. This is the final issue of a limited series featuring some of my favorite Marvel characters. There's Hercules, who, if you haven't read The Incredible Hercules or heard me jab about it, It's one of my all-time favorite Marvel comics. Of course, there's the Hulk. I love the Hulk, especially because Immortal Hulk has been so goddamn good. I'm becoming a really big Hulk fan. And also Hawkeye, who also completely kicks ass. If you haven't read Matt Fraction's run on Hawkeye, wonderful series of comics. Also, all of those characters start with the letter H, but that's probably just a coincidence. Basically what this story was about was this primal being, Nyx, who is essentially like darkness incarnate, is going around getting revenge on all the Atlantans, like from Atlanta, Georgia? Not even Atlantis. I meant to say, the Olympians, like Zeus and Hera and all those, killed all those, and Hercules is after her to stop her before she can do more damage and take over absolutely all of darkness. And it's really cool the way that this ends, is Vision essentially traps her in this house, and she is killed by the Marvel Universe, and not by the individual characters all teaming up, but more like a representation of the concept of the Marvel Universe in the House of Ideas. These characters aren't actually physically there. It's just that these stories and these heroes are the hope that fights back the darkness, which is something that I really like at the end of this book. It's kind of a really nice send-off for Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, which is, I think, probably the reason that this series was written, as a way to say goodbye to them and show that the work that they have done in comic books has, physically, or figuratively rather, fought off the darkness in people's lives. And, that's kind of sums up pretty well why I like comic books, is because they can be really, colorful and goofy and silly, but they make you feel good, and they can also really just kind of give you this gut punch of earnestness every now and then. It's very nice to see something that isn't always entirely cynical. I know that Marvel is owned by Disney, and they're there to make money, but I feel like a lot of the individual artists and writers who are working in the comic books especially right now are really doing this as a labor of love. I read them because I love them, and I know that they're a big corporate product, and I don't really care because stuff like this is, it really gets to me. I really enjoy this kind of thing. Also, at the end of this book, in the previews, there's a new series coming out called Savage Avengers, with Venom, Dr. Voodoo, Conan the Barbarian, the Punisher, Elektra, and Wolverine on a team called the Savage Avengers. I don't know if this is going to be a limited series. I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing series. I don't know. I don't care. I'd rather it be an ongoing series because the concept of this is the silliest fucking shit. Conan the Barbarian shows up in Avengers No Road Home and is just introduced into the regular Marvel universe. Conan the Barbarian. It's the goofiest shit, and I'm actually pretty excited to see where this goes. But that comic book isn't out yet, so we ain't talking about it. What we are going to talk about is Daredevil number 4 by Chip Zdarsky, art by Marco Checchetto and Sonny Cho, cover by Julian Totino Tedesco. I think I previously mentioned on one of these older episodes that I had some misgivings about Chip Zdarsky writing Daredevil. Nothing against Chip Zdarsky as a writer. I've really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that he's done with kind of lighter characters like Spider-Man. I just didn't know if he'd be able to handle a dark, kind of more brooding character like Daredevil. But there's a part in this issue where I have been won over to the way Chip Zdarsky is writing it. So Daredevil and Frank Castle are fighting in one of their, you never take things far enough, Daredevil. I work with the law, Frank! And they start, fighting and roughhousing and beating each other up. And Matt gets knocked into a gun cabinet. And so he just starts, shooting at Frank. And Frank's like, I didn't think you had it in you to use a gun. And fucking Daredevil just, surgically, disarms the Punisher without killing him, right? And there's this, like, super menacing part, which I am considering to be my panel of the week, right here. It's just, like, this fantastic moment where these two characters who are frequently at odds with each other, but have some amount of respect for each other, are showing down, and, like, Matt lays it down on the line. He basically says, like, Frank, your only trick is killing people, and I'm so good, I don't need to kill people. That's how fucking scary I am, motherfucker, so, like, back off. That bottom panel right there is really cool. He blows up Frank's hideout, and then he escapes, and he's out on the road. Really cool shit. I'm really looking forward to seeing some more of this run on Daredevil, because this is really the first time where, like, I've enjoyed the first 3 issues of Chip Zdarsky's run, but this really cemented in it, like, ooh, I'm excited to see where this goes, because that's really cool. Next up, Miles Morales Spider-Man. First off, I want to talk about how fucking... Oh, wait, no, hold on. Miles Morales Spider-Man by Saladin Ahmed. Art by Javier Garron and David Curiel. Cover by Marco D'Alfonso. Alfonso. First off, cover. Beautiful. I love this cover. I don't know if it was purposefully made to look a whole lot like Enter the Spider-Verse, because the last few covers for Miles Morales Spider-Man didn't. But beautiful colors, great composition, everything is, like, really good silhouettes on this cover. It's really nice looking. Also, if you guys haven't seen Enter the Spider-Verse yet, or Into the Spider-Verse, I don't know which one it is. Wow, look at me, I'm a fake gamer girl on my own show. Anyway, if you guys haven't seen it, it's fucking amazing. And this cover really reflects kind of the art style that they were going for. But that said, Saladin Ahmed, I've been reading this comic book, and it was really cool that a person of color is writing a Miles Morales comic. I don't know how much that has happened. I believe the character was created by Brian Michael Bendis. And it's nice to see kind of where this writer is taking Miles Morales, because one of the problems I've had with the character before is that he and Peter were, like, super similar in what they were. They were young kids who were thrust into this problem of being Spider-Man. Both of them were, like, super genius inventors, and, like, both of them had kind of the same morality core and things like that. One thing I'm enjoying about the way that Saladin Ahmed is writing the character is that he's not this, like, brilliant super genius, but he's still smart. It's just smart in a different way. Like, here's the example I wanted to use. There's a part here where he's beating up some of Tombstone's goons. And I feel like if this were a Peter Parker story, Peter Parker would have, like, put a spider tracker on one of the guys and followed them back to the hideout. Instead, Miles uses a super practical, real-world solution by just, like, pulling the guy's cell phone out of his pocket and checking his location data. I really like that. I feel like a lot of times what Marvel does is you have characters that are like Reed Richards or Bruce Banner or Peter Parker. You have these characters that are just like these, like, immense super geniuses who's into, like, Tony Stark, like, these super geniuses. And it's nice to see a character who is more on the level of the reader and coming up with these solutions that, like, oh yeah, I probably would have thought of that too. It really makes the character a lot more relatable. Which I really appreciate. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the way that Saladin Ahmed is writing Miles Morales, especially in situations like these, where Miles is, like, using the tools that he has just as kind of like a teenage kid to solve problems that he runs into. That's really neat. Next up, bada bing! War of the Realms, Thor, number 12, by Jason Aaron, art and cover by Mike Del Mundo. I cannot stress enough how much I absolutely love Mike Del Mundo's artwork. He and Ricardo Lopez Ortiz are my favorite artists working for Marvel right now. Just like the really cool way that light is glinting off of the Frost Troll in this front page, and how the outlines are different colors to show different layers of depth and different materials that things are actually made of. Looks really wonderful. And this sequence in particular I really liked in the comic. It shows the death in the future of Ego the Living Planet. Loki is having a vision of himself in the future. And there are these really beautiful bits of light showing out, and there are these dark swirls that are almost flat colored. And your brain tells you they're black, but they're orange because they're in this ambient orange light of an exploding planet. And Mike Del Mundo does these really goofy, playful things. There on Ego's eye, there's blood or black stuff dripping down across his eye, and it forms an X across his eye, in a cartoon where a dead character has X's for eyes. And that's really fun because it's really beautiful art, but it's not necessarily taking itself super seriously. It's still hey, this is a cartoon and we're depicting something awful, but I really, really enjoyed this series of panels right here, just because of just the way everything's set out. And honestly, I've talked a million times on this show and just to other people that Mike Del Mundo's artwork is absolutely gorgeous. It's really cool shit. Next up, War of the Realms, number 2, by Jason Aaron. Art by Russell Dauterman and Matthew Wilson. Cover by Arthur Adams and Matthew Wilson. So there's this other event going on right now. But I'm not really bothered by that because this one's actually pretty cool and it doesn't cover every single book like some of the events do. It's actually pretty fun. So basically what happened is that Malekith, the Dark Elf, has attacked all of creation, all of the 9, 10, 50 realms, however many realms there may be. And finally he has come to Midgard, Earth, and the battle has started in New York City in Manhattan. And all of the Marvel characters are going to Manhattan to start fighting these, trolls and goblins and elves. They're all attacking everywhere, and everything's going to shit. And, Doctor Strange is getting people out of there. And then there's, here on the cover, we've got Valkyrie and Wolverine and Punisher just fucking killing elves and shit everywhere. It's really cool. But the one thing that I really wanted to talk about was this series of panels. This drawing of Frank Castle firing his gun. He's in the middle of a fight, and then there's this panel of him just making this crazy face and just standing stock still and firing a machine gun with one hand. And when I first saw it, I laughed out loud because it's very funny. And I showed it to my buddy Eric, and he said, Frank's looking like he's going, "Ooh, I'm so mad, oh gosh darn it, I'm so grouchy." And so, he's making this face, and then Wolverine shows up, and then, Frank, puts his gun down, he's like, "What took you so long, Logan? I thought you were dead." And then Logan's like, "Ha, better keep your eyes up, Castle, we're gonna have to kill us some bad guys." And then, the very next page, it's the same drawing again, but from farther away and with Wolverine in it. And I'm laughing again, because it's crazy. It's the exact same pose, the exact same expression, everything. Frank Castle's feet are stuck to the ground, and the only part he can move is his left arm. Like an action figure. You squeeze his legs together, and then, that little arm swings up, a little gun in his hand. It's his action move. Is he standing there going "Oh man, I've only got this one gun, what should I do with my other hand?" And he's is he putting his hand in his pocket or tucking his thumb into his belt, and he's I'll just let it hang by my side, I guess. It's fucking weird, awkward pose. And both of these things, he's firing at the exact same angle, looking at the exact same place, but there's a change in action between these two things. I guess I could have illustrated that better. But he, like, puts the gun down and talks to Wolverine for a second, and then just resumes firing in the exact same direction, standing in the exact same place. Like, like, okay, so there's this crazy battle going on in Manhattan. Is Frank just, like, bored? And he's like, okay, law of averages, if I just point this direction and just unload every bullet I've gotten that way, I'll eventually hit a bad guy. Like, just wait for him to come by. Why point the gun in other directions? Like, like, is he in such a bad mood? Because Wolverine gets this cool action pose, and he's like, oh shit, I was gonna do something cool. I guess I'll just go back to shooting my gun with one hand. So the drawing's so nice. They did it twice. That's not the end. What the fuck? Oh, wait, hey, there we go. Hey, there's more. Next up, West Coast Avengers number 10. This is a sad one for me. I really liked West Coast Avengers, and this is the final issue of that series. I guess it just didn't really sell as well. But it was a super charming, silly comic with a lot of the B-team Marvel characters, including one of my favorites, Hawkeye, and another one of my favorites, the other Hawkeye. I absolutely love Clint and Kate. They are great characters. I mean, this series like really grabbed my attention because the first major villain in this series was ooh, I don't know why that's not working. The first major villain was MODOK, and he was he had turned himself into this hunk with kind of a big head, and he was like trying to impress girls with it, and he called himself BRODOK. Like, that's gonna be a hard thing for me to say goodbye to, because that was a fun concept and it was goofy. But yeah, so what else have we got? Next week, I'm excited for Hulkverines. Why are these not fitting to? You know, something weird was going on with my. Can I like edit this? Fit to screen, please. Okay, never mind. Anyway, so Hulkverines is coming out next week. I'm looking forward to that. Greg Pak is writing it. He's one of the writers of Incredible Hercules, which I always talk about. And he's doing a really good comic about how crazy it is that they splice the DNA of Hulk and Wolverine into one guy, and now they're fighting other Hulk and Wolverines with each other. The other thing that I am excited for is this next Venom comic. All the Venom comics have been awesome. He's joining the fight in War on the Realms. I'm looking forward to seeing Venom kill a bunch of elves and stuff. Also, Amazing Spider-Man, I mentioned it earlier. I want to see how they're going to do this storyline with the Lizard, where he can't fight, but he's in there to save his son. So that's everything that I'm excited for next week. If you want me to read anything in the meantime, you can contact me here at Samuel K on Twitter and samuelk@gmail.com. If you just want to send me an email with any feedback or anything like that. Sorry, this one might have been a little rocky because I'm a little bit rusty from not doing this for a while. But I hope to do more soon. It's Monday night. New Comic Book Day is Wednesday. I'll pick up my comics that day. And we'll talk to you. I'll try to do these like on Sundays or Mondays, just depending on how long it takes me to read all the comics. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. There's how you get a hold of me. Is that how I end these? I don't remember how I ended all these. I should have probably gone back and watched that. Oh, do I talk about the music I'm listening to? I just looked up a mix of instrumental bluegrass. I used to hate bluegrass when I was a kid, but now I kind of like it. Alright, bye.